What have I done? What have I done? All right. Okay, so we are doing this. And we are moving here. All right. Let's just see when people will jump on. Hey, 8 people so far. Thank you for doing this. I always learn something new. Yes. Okay, so we are a bit late, but we also are a bit early. So KP is not ready. She's busy rendering something special. So everyone that's just joined in, start thinking of your questions now. We're going to be talking about enrichments. Yes, enrichments. So, hello Wigglers, nice theme song. Is there a theme song playing in the background? What? Now I'm curious. What am I playing in the background? But yes, so hopefully I'm going to try to show you now, but the green screen tends to be a little bit funny in that way. Let me actually see what it sounds like. Hello Wigglers, nice theme song. Oh, okay. You got a fright there. But if you're wondering, don't you know you can see, but this is actually Gustav. See here, Gustav? I cleaned him, by the way. So I'm not chewing it out of nothing. Hello! Well, hello, Tessa. So you can't see Gustav, but this is Gustav. He's being invisible because he's green. He's lime green. He's not yellow. He's lime green. So Gustav is like hello, Montulaire. Let's see if we can... I want to try something here. Can I duplicate this? So I'm just waiting to be tagged before they start, and then we'll bring them over. So enrichment today. So enrichment is anything that you give to the otters, basically, so they are stimulated and their minds are like, oh, I want to play with that. So Newman, Bucky, all of those. Ice Treats is a form of enrichment. By all means, you can start posting the questions right here below. When is Gustav going to turn to your YouTube videos? Soon. I'm trying to find the right format, because since I've moved the pup dates across to my channel, I'm trying to see if I can integrate it with other stuff. So not just MMRC, but I mean, there's a lot more else happening at Vinaqua. There's a lot more else happening elsewhere. But I'm just trying to get the right permissions to do it. We don't necessarily have to ask for permissions when it's commentary, because it falls under fair use if you're offering commentary on a video and it's short. But I'd rather be safe. I'd rather just be courteous. So I'm asking Montecube, I'm asking Shared Aquarium, I'm asking one of them, like, if I use a little bit of clip, so you'll get the updates, the updates on everything. But Gustav may be appearing in another video soon. So, guys, while you're here, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you watched the new Taz Talks? And if you have, I want to find out something. I forgot what my question was going to be suddenly. I'm like, what? My brain just went, oh gosh, totally forgot. This is a Gustav. I'm trying to take the filter off so you can see. Let's try. You might see me vanish momentarily. Let's just try. All right. Okay. So don't worry, panic. Don't panic, people. You might be see a production. Anyway. It's Gustav. Let me tell you a little bit about Gustav. He is very soft, but he's also very hard. Like, seriously. Like, you can bend him. Watch. Look at this. You can... See, you can cross his legs. You put the treats inside the hole. Don't say it. You put the treats inside the hole, and he's just pops out. He's like, no teeth mark. It's actually very relaxing, by the way. Do not screenshot this. You know who we are. This mustn't become a meme. It's Gustav. Hello, Gustav, my little friend. He sits on my shoulder like, yeah, manche, yeah. This is very good. So, I was going to ask and I totally forgot. So, first of all, Mac's accent is Australian on purpose. And there's a story behind it, which you'll find out in a later episode. So, yeah. So, because I mean, like, why is this accent Australian? It's kind of was meant to be something else, but I ended up going with Australian, so his accent might actually change. And then you guys will get to decide which one of his accents is actually the better one. But there's a reason. You might even see within his jackets that he wears a jacket on purpose. So let's just see if KP in that already. We're going to find out. But Okay, so again, enrichment questions, please. So please ask as much enrichment questions as possible. Anything you've ever wanted to know about the devices. Wait, I thought Hardy was... Oh, sorry, it was Hardy, not Mac. Thank you for correcting me. It was Hardy. Hardy has the Australian accent. Hardy. I don't even know my own characters. That's terrible. So Hardy has the Australian accent, yes. So it's Hardy. And I totally forgot what question I was going to ask that you guys could actually go put a poll. I was going to put a poll up on YouTube. And I'll just... My brain's gone... Yes. So he's going to have two accents. And again, this is very, very much for a valid reason. But I will ask this. So I'm going to, on my Discord, I'm going to actually offer a little competition. We're making a theme song, an entrance theme song for the show. And we're looking for those that want to contribute to lyrics. So it's going to be a very quick thing. I'm going to post it now. So if you want to know, or if you want to contribute, okay, so they're ready. But before we begin, they are ready. If you want to contribute, please visit the channel and post your lyrics. And I'm actually going to put it under Taztalks questions. And I'll post it right there. Just 1 second, everyone. 1 second. And you can then, even if you want to contribute musically, send me a voice clip. Send me a voice clip. Or send me anything. I'm posting the Discord link there. You can follow that Discord. And if you want to DM me, you can find of your lyrics for the Taztalks. For the Taztalks intro. We kind of have one. But I want you guys to help. Okay, so let's get started with this AMA and let's learn something today. Hello. Okay, I'm ready, but they muted for some reason. Okay, there we go. It brings on Rieha. One more. Hello. Hello.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm good.
I was getting concerned.
It's okay. Although we're late, entirely my fault, everybody, because I was late getting this video, but I think it's going to be really, really good. I think you guys are going to like it.
I just want to check with my channel very quickly. Can everyone hear KP and that come through? Is everyone...
Me.
Ooh, definitely. It's like, I heard that. All right. Okay. So, welcome to the show. As you all know, we're back with KP, and Rieha's back from last week. Unfortunately, we didn't have her last week, which was a Panic Stations Deluxe. but we have Rieha back this week, and I'm so glad. So, yes, guys, today, as I was just discussing them, we're going to be covering enrichments. And I know you've got a lot of stuff that you want to share with enrichments, and we've got some questions that have already been pre-compiled because some of us were very early with our questions and posted it on the AMA link on KP's channel. So, KP, I link it on my Discord too, but you can actually ask questions for the following show via a nice little system that Ray has made for us, and you can have your questions answered early. But please ask here. Anyway, let's begin with the show. I'm trying to pull your video through, and sorry about that. I think I've said enough. Ray, you might want to start with one of the first questions that you most likely have while I sort my life out on this side.
Alrighty. Let's see. Our first question that was submitted, it's, do any of the animals have a different favorite enrichment? The question is if it varies between animals and which enrichment they like better.
Yeah, like as far as like animal species or individual animals, yes to both, really. You know, just like humans, like each animal has preferences. And there are of course species difference and species like specific enrichment that we can do. Enrichment in general, I won't go too far into this because I'm sure that there's questions later on, but is designed to suit the animal. So, like, for instance, I'm sure, you know, the question is in general, talking about sea otters, probably.
Yes.
Sea otters are really, really into, obviously, as we know, like, cracking into shells and things like that is a huge part of their lives. So a lot of our enrichment is designed to mimic that. It's something that they love to do. It's where they get their destructive streak, so to speak, is because their literally instincts are telling them to bang things. And so when we give them things like ice treats or large ice blocks that they need to actually destroy to get at the enrichment in there, that's with the design to have them be doing natural behaviors. A lot of you know, like walruses, for instance, are you know, really tactile with their faces, so we'll do enrichment design to let them feel different textures and do different things like that. And then there's of course individual differences. Like Hardy loves Jello, and all the other otters are just like, forget about Jello. There will be a clip in here of Hardy just like devouring some Jello in part of this video. But yeah, so there's absolutely individual differences. Kunik goes crazy for ice treats and won't let anybody else touch them. Katmai's kind of similar that way, and
yeah, we've seen
Mac just enjoys being around and like just hanging out, so he doesn't really mind if all of his ice treats get stolen. So yeah, I mean there's absolutely individual differences, and there's definitely species differences too. Like if we gave, and some of our sea lions love ice treats. Some of them just don't even care about them. So yeah, there's personalities, but then there's also differences in the species and why we do certain things for different species of animals.
So it's very much personality based, almost like.
yeah. I mean, there's the species level, and then there's the personality level. Yeah, for sure.
Gosh, I was just laughing at the ferrets carrying that feather thing up the stairs.
Yeah. They love to hide things, so I like to give them things that they can hide. So yeah.
That is so cute. We have a very quick question on this side, because it's a very, very popular video. Is VA considering a basketball ring for otters to play with balls, as seen as that physiotherapy video on YouTube where the otter's dunking the ball?
Oh, like the exercise ball?
Yes, they actually dunk it into the basketball net. Yeah. So there's a video of an otter dunking.
Yes. We talked about this because that's an otter that had arthritis, and that was his treatment for his arthritis was that. No. We're not. I mean, like, it's so first of all, can you imagine like our otters with a basketball
Oh
net
god,
right now?
no.
So you kind of, again, you go like individual animals. So what
Yes.
they had was some very older animals who tend to mellow out in their old age, relax a little bit, and maybe you can let them have certain things. It's kind of the same as how, you know, Joey was able to get different enrichment when he was little because he can't be as destructive as he can now that he's big. So different stages of lives are going to give you different types of enrichment too. It's not to say that we wouldn't maybe consider it in the future, but even like that ball, like I imagine our otters would just pop it and shred it into 1,000 little
because
pieces.
it's very easy to pop. It isn't like the normal boomer balls we have in the pool.
Yeah. But there's lots of things. We are always looking for new things for these guys. Like this past summer, we actually were able to go out into the ocean and collect like some kelp. And use that for enrichment. Our vet staff approved that, like real kelp in the trainer area. We're always trying to do things. We're right now looking into, I don't know if you guys saw, I think it was at Oregon Zoo, they had those sort of like exercise like weights almost that they were using to sink bits of artificial kelp that had ice treats frozen onto them.
It was sinking to the bottom of the pool.
Yes, I really, really want to do that. So that is something that we're always looking into it, and some of it comes down to like if we can find it cheap, if we can, you know, do that sort of thing. But yeah, we're always doing new things and finding new and interesting things. But you can also make old stuff interesting too. So we try to do that a little bit as well. Like recently, we've been getting into like the humongous Otter Treats you guys might have seen because we found our big mold, which is just a giant trash can essentially, but we can now make huge ice treats for these guys. So that's and we've been freezing like their tubs in it, which is that they love the tubs. They obviously know the tubs, but now the tubs are frozen in a giant ice block, so it's different. So there's ways you can make old things different, but and not have to like buy new things. But no, I don't see a basketball hoop in our future.
I can just imagine Katma tearing that net apart. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh,
she would just what is this? Let me find out, and just tear it apart.
Absolutely.
But this just brings up the exact same thing. This is why it's so important to show support for these aquariums, and that it's more than just about food. It's about these enrichments as well. So I think a lot of people have asked, should we be able to donate toys? And I think if you're correct, it's rather better just to donate. As opposed to send a toy.
It's people love to buy toys, but and sometimes we can like guide people in the direction of like we could use this item.
Yes.
That's something that we could potentially do is actually like you can make like Amazon wish lists.
Yes, I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something that we could do. But if you just go out and buy a toy at a pet store, like odds are we're not going to be able to use it. So it's better to at least ask first, and then you know, if you're like, oh, could you guys use this? And we're like, oh my gosh, actually, I think that would be really great. Then maybe yes. But in general, we do a lot of research before we get toys for the animals, and even once we get them, we do a lot of testing on them and stuff like that, just to make sure they're animal safe before they go with the animals. So
God, these videos, please tell me you're going to upload this video to YouTube later.
Yeah, we will. I think it'll probably be up just honestly probably after
this
after
is
the
so
show's
funny.
over.
Ray, there's some questions on your side. God, the ferrets just kill me, by the way.
So many ferrets.
Our next question on the list is actually what kind of enrichment do the sea lions get?
Yeah, so sea lions get sometimes we'll do ice treats. It's just the same as sea otters. Sometimes bigger ones, sometimes smaller ones. Some of the things like that they can't really have are going to be like all of these kelp-y toys, like that car wash material, fake kelp. Here's the Jello enrichment. But and that's just because they will just chew through them. Like from experience, we know they just bite through them, and then they're basically useless to us. So we can't use them anymore. So, but yeah, they're mostly sea lions are very food motivated. So there's most of our enrichment has a food element to it. However, as I think we've already seen a couple, and you'll see definitely some more of throughout this video, there is a lot of underwater plays that we do with them. So bringing things to their underwater windows and interacting with them in that way is a really seems to be really engaging for them. They really like to do that, especially because when we had guests, they were very used to people being around, almost to the point where they just ignore it. They just don't even like. We see people all day. It's not even a thing. But now, the lights are off, nobody's around. So when we go downstairs, they're paying attention. They're like, "Hey, what's going on?" So, so we bring our penguins down there, like to show the sea lions and get a double whammy enrichment sort of thing. And so those are probably the top two things. Anything food related, and then underwater enrichment.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Ray, can carry on with your questions. Come on, guys, fill the thing. Let me. Oh, actually, see. When are you going to add John? Okay. That's a totally unrelated question to the. I'll add Jean Pierre when I find a proper accent for him. Anyway, it's still an enrichment. Ray, you got another question on that list?
Yeah, it's a pretty general question. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen it, but this question is, do the animals enjoy playing with toys?
Some of them do, yeah. I mean, that's especially the otters really seem to enjoy interacting with toys and stuff. There are some animals that are uninterested unless there's food involved. And the thing about enrichment to remember is that even though we of course always want our animals to be having awesome fun experiences, and that's usually the goal, enrichment is really anything that changes up the behavior of an animal. So even if they're not actually interacting with it, if it changed their behavior for any period of time, it's still been successful enrichment.
Okay.
So and sometimes interacting with toys can look a little bit different. Like when our penguins are just looking at something, like getting down on its level and looking at it, and they never even get close to it, but they've been looking at it for several minutes. Like that's them interacting.
It's a form of stimulation still.
Yeah,
like thinking about it. What is this?
Yeah, exactly. And so like just looking at it, just changing up your behavior. That is successful enrichment for us. Of course, we love to see them actually play with things, but that's just not, that's not for every animal. But in general, the animals do really seem to enjoy the enrichment because we do plan them so that they are fun. But even like putting something weird and maybe a little bit scary in a corner, and they
and they're like, well, what is this?
Come over to it. Yeah, it's still enrichment. Just changing up the behavior and making things different and breaking up the day. That's usually the goal.
I mean, I think we can almost drag this conversation to, you're showing with the ferrets and that how important it is to provide activities for your pets. I mean, my bearded dragon is, okay, for short periods, but I actually put a mirror inside and I just see my bearded dragon stare at it. Like,
oh, really?
Doesn't bob the head, doesn't do anything, doesn't get aggressive. It's just like, I know this is there, but I don't know if it's me. And then after 50 minutes, you take it out because it's a thing. But it's a form of enrichment. And I think it's really important to people.
I wanted to. There are a fair number of ferret videos, obviously, in this in this compilation, and Double Agent was like, There's a lot of ferret videos in here, and I was like, I know, but it's still enrichment. We do enrichment all the time with our ferrets, and it helps them be less destructive. They are related to otters, so there's that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, enrichment is super important in your pets' lives, in your animals' lives. It's one thing that I like as far as animals at the aquarium. I think they have it better than pets in a lot of ways, because I think sometimes as pet owners we forget that here's Hardy just munching on Jello.
Yeah, it's a thick block.
Yeah, we forget that that enrichment is still important, even for your dogs and cats at home.
Absolutely.
And changing things up. We just live with them and just exist that way. Whereas the animals at the aquarium, there's always enrichment planned every single day. There's something interesting that's going to happen. So
I like the brushes you have there too.
Yeah, that was fun. That was kind of a texture enrichment. I don't think they'd ever seen that before, so that was their first time seeing it, and they were a little weirded out by the texture of the brushes. So Yes, here it is again. This is Kunik. Really enjoyed it. So, and some of them, like Joey, didn't want anything to do with it. He was like, "What is that? That is weird. Get it away." So,
It's like, this has more whiskers in me. I don't understand.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We have a question on this side. How about toys that make sound? Is that appropriate for creatures like otters that make different sounds?
Yeah, it can be. Sound enrichment that's interesting. Like you can play different sounds for them. Sometimes we'll do that if we have like a really interesting sound. Even sometimes we've had TVs that we can like wheel up to the underwater windows and turn on the TVs for them.
Oh, wow.
And see, what they think about that. So sound can be a really interesting enrichment with all things. Though you kind of have to, like, I'm thinking like sound, like what could you do for sea otters? Well, you could play like a baby otter screaming, but then what do you so you kind of have to think about like, okay, what kind of a reaction is that going to elicit? Is that going to make them be like, what in the world? Why is this otter screaming? Should we go help it? Or like, so it's one of those things too, where you kind of have to watch what you're doing. But if you're just doing like benign, like here's the sound of here's what a walrus sounds like. Sea otters. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, okay, I see, yes.
That could maybe be something interesting. But in general, our animals, I feel like sound is probably lower on the list of things that we do, just because they're so desensitized to sound. I mean, sound is like there's always sounds. Yeah, so it's very difficult to find a sound, I think, that would elicit some kind of reaction. But we do things like scent enrichment is super fun. I used to eat an apple every morning, and I would take it up and eat it with the otters because they thought apples were like the weirdest smelling things. They were sometimes like they didn't even really like the apple smell. They'd still keep coming over to smell it, but they were like, ugh.
It's like those things when they like gag.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, the scent enrichment, I think, is maybe a little bit more prominent with some of our animals, but it's not to say you couldn't do sound enrichment for sure.
Oh, that's nice. Ray, you got some questions on your side?
Yeah, I'm pulling out everything from chat as well. But the next question we have here is, do you have a favorite type of enrichment that you like to do for animals?
Good question. I guess it kind of depends on the animal. Like Bella, our youngest sea lion, I love giving her, we have a giant iceberg toy that I love giving her because she loves it. Basically, I love giving the animals anything that I know that they love. Is like the short version of it. But yeah, I love doing giant ice blocks. I think that that is super, super fun for us to watch them struggling with huge ice blocks. New toys are always really fun because none of the animals have seen them before, and seeing them interact with new toys is really interesting. But I guess giant enrichment is honestly
like
probably
big toys.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I guess like now that I'm thinking about it and everything that I'm saying, I'm like, no, it's always the giant toys. For some reason, I think that giant enrichment is really fun. I guess because we don't do it very often because it is very inconvenient for us. It's very easy to go up and throw a few small ice treats. Oh, this walrus video is hilarious, guys. We gave them salmon, and then Balzac slapped his sister in the face with it. So I just have to draw attention to that really quickly. Dang, God, what is this problem? Anyway. So yeah, I think that giant enrichment. I did love giving the walruses salmon, even though it was disgusting. But yeah, just huge things are super fun for me, I think, because they don't get them very often.
Question on this side would actually I would be interested. Like, would bubbles from under the water be a sort of enrichment?
Yeah, so we've even had like we've had exhibits designed where animals could push a button and it would trigger bubbles.
Oh my God.
We have a bubble machine. So it's like it's literally like a hula hoop that we've like jerry rigged. This is like MacGyver kind of stuff to be hooked up to a like a dive tank. And it goes down and can make bubbles. Unfortunately, it's very limited in who we can give it to. We can basically give it to our dolphin right now because our sea otters would essentially shred it.
Yeah.
But we do have animal safe bubbles that we can blow like from the surface, and I think you've seen that with the walruses. Had that in one of my videos here, and that can be really fun. Underwater bubbles is something that you almost have to design into your habitat. So I wish that the otters could have it, but it's not really like in the design right now. But maybe we'll think of something sometime. But yeah, underwater bubbles it's definitely a thing. Yeah, well, we keep the dive tank. Georgie's like, sea otter's in a dive tank. We keep the dive tank. The dive tank doesn't go in the water. The dive tank stays at the surface. It's like this long tube. I'm telling you, this thing is like insane. We almost never use it because it's like, it weighs like 1,000 pounds and it has like 6 moving parts, and you have to like bring each of them up there and assemble the whole thing. And it takes like 45 minutes, and then the dolphin doesn't even care about it anyway. So yeah, but it is a fun idea, and you know, I think something that hopefully, if the aquarium redesigns sea otter exhibit in the future, which is something that's supposed to be on the table, that it'd be nice to include some easy enrichment solutions.
It'd be
like that.
very interesting, if anything. Just actually seeing that.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, you got questions on your side again.
Yep, this is a follow-up to that previous question. It's which animal or animals is hardest to come up with enrichment ideas for?
Oh.
Hardest to come up with.
I'm assuming the ones that would be like the most destructive will not care.
Yeah, because I like the otters is so easy, right? It doesn't even matter what we throw in there. They're gonna be so happy about it, right? So even though we need to spend a lot of time enriching them so that they're not destroying their habitat, it's not hard to do that. Hardest to think of things. I mean, probably, yeah, the animals that don't really seem to care about enrichment are the ones that are challenges for us to come up with new and inventive ways to keep them preoccupied, or to try to find something that they do like. Like baby animals are so easy. They love everything. But as the animals get older, and it's just kind of the same with humans too, I think, in some ways.
That's true, yeah.
It becomes a little bit harder. So so those would probably include things like sea lions, or our harbor seals are kind of hard. We have 2 like geriatric male harbor seals, and they don't really care too much about everything, and they're also one of them is also pretty much blind, so like trying to find enrichment for him is like is really tricky. So those are some of the harder ones, but otters are probably the easiest.
Oh, well, that's a surprise considering that how much they destroy.
Yeah. Wildo here is asking, what about a slide for the otters?
Yes.
And like, so we have our curator, like my boss, is very protective of the animals, which is a good thing. But it means that our enrichment selection tends to be maybe just a little bit slightly lower than some other facilities, because I've worked at facilities where you can literally give them like what's the brand of like kitty like play like equipment, like they make like little play school? Is it play school? Yeah. Where you literally, they have slides, and there are, their little houses, like the little play school, sheds and stuff like that, that the otters can play with and stuff like that. And we're not allowed to do stuff like that. So slides, again, it would have to be something that's like built into the habitat, or or something like that, or potentially something that we could do that doesn't go on exhibit, because the fear is that enrichment always has to be safe, because there have been facilities that have had animals pass away from like botched enrichment. So
wow.
it really is and it hardly ever happens, but it has happened. And so it is something that, and of course you never want to, you don't ever want to be the cause of something like that. So
yes, of course.
so yeah, so that's the fear, and something that we're trying to avoid. So our enrichment program is pretty like strict about what we can and cannot give to the animals. Like I tried specifically for you guys, I tried to get permission to use towels with Joey, like just for a couple minutes, just for one more time. It was like a month or two ago, and I got a no on that one, so we didn't get to make it happen. But it is all in the name of being safe for the animals. So
no, of course, absolutely. This is a slight diversion from the ferrets with the towels. So we're getting the video a little bit delayed on our side. If anyone is wondering, like, what's going on? This is a little bit diversion from the questions, but do each otter get different amounts or types of food? Some of the users notice that Katmai's food is smaller, while other otters have bigger chunks and orange food.
The orange stuff is all just propeller clams, and right now all of the otters get propeller clams. They get different proportions of different types of food. Some of that is based on what we know they like, even though they all really get all types, just because it is important for them to have variety. But we also, if you like this type of food that much, then you can have more.
You're gonna have more, yeah.
Yeah. So Katmai is just an animal. Like, I think as she gets older, her metabolism is changing. She is now maintaining a rather high weight for Katmai with not that much food, and looking like she's totally fine. She's not looking hungry or anything like that. So her base has actually recently gone down. So you're right. So she is eating less than the other otters, and that is probably just age related.
But good on our Wigglers for noticing that, though. Like, that's.
I know. I'm actually really impressed that you guys could possibly notice that. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, for sure. So everybody gets different things. I think Hardy and Mac are eating the most right now. Although Joey's like not that far behind. And so the diets are specialized for the animals, and it's based on what they tell us. If they're telling us I need more, they get more. They're telling us we don't need that much, then we don't force them to eat it. So
basically, Katmai's getting chunky.
She did get a little chunky there for a little while, and it was like, what?
The queen is growing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh, but I think that was Maddie that actually noticed that. So that's quite impressive. Shazal, Diginet, our watches are well done. Ray, you got some questions on your side?
This question says, we know that Kunik can't have an enrichment that has knots.
Yeah.
Since she can untie them, but
like lightning.
Can any of the other otters not have a certain kind of enrichment?
Yeah. We did kind of talk about this. I do. We do still give Kunik things with knots in it, just not in the pool. So if you ever see her like off exhibit, or like we're cleaning a pool and she's in like the holding area, we give her knots, because it's like, here you go, keep yourself busy for a little while. The only reason she's not allowed to have that on exhibit is because then the kelp goes down the drain, and then it's like a problem.
Okay, and then it's a lot of sad otters.
Yeah. So, but I love that she does it. It's actually something that we've been thinking about, trying to see if we could do it like in a session. Can I give her a knot in a session, untie it, you get your food reward? I don't know, something like that. So we're trying to incorporate that, because it's super cool that she does it, and she's obviously incredibly good at it. We accidentally left some toys in there with her, I think just like last week or the week before, and we noticed it, saw her playing with them, and was like, okay, we'll get to that in 5 minutes. Came back, it was all untied and completely undone. And we're like, okay, well.
I would actually almost love to see that happen, how she goes through that process.
Yeah, she's an unstoppable force. But Katmai is not allowed to have things that she can climb on, because Katmai has repeatedly shown that she can escape. if she has the means to. So anything that can be used as a stepping stool, anything that can be leaned
step on
up
it.
against a wall, anything that can be like wedged in anywhere is just Katmai is not allowed to have. The other otters, I think that's about it for what animals are or are not allowed to have right now. And then that'll change. It changes all the time. But like these toys that you're seeing right here, these are supervised only. So we've got lots of different categories of toys. So these animals, so we would not allow these guys to take these back into the pool. So because they're big holes, but they're not quite big enough for like a big ol' Katmai butt to fit all the way through, so they could potentially get stuck in them.
Okay.
So they are allowed to have them where we can watch them. And that's kind of some of our toys are what we call supervised only, and then there's unsupervised toys. There's toys that we have to physically hold on to the other end of them for the animals to have. There's lots of different categories and things and stipulations you can make instead of just being like, no, they can't, or yes, they can have them. So
I can almost
yeah.
hear the screams that Joey would make if he had to get stuck in one of those loops. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to learn how to get out. I'm just going to scream like a child, like, help!
Oh my
me!
gosh, I know. And then not allow us to help in any way, and just be overly, completely unhelpful. That's exactly
Yes,
what
absolutely,
Joey
that's Joey. I love when I see your ferrets do that little N shape. I almost see the relation with the otters. We were actually talking about it on live stream today. That special little accordion N of their spine, the slinky.
Yeah. When you look at their skeletons, it's very similar. The weasel skeletons are super weird. This is completely off topic, but like the way their hips kind of like loop back underneath themselves is like really kind of weird. Yeah.
They really are slinky animals. Ray, you can carry on with your questions while I find questions on this side.
This one is, are enrichment toys designed to mimic something the animal would do in the wild?
Yeah, for sure. So we are usually trying to mimic natural behaviors of the animals. So we kind of talked about this a little bit with like the otters. The ice treats are made to mimic things like clamshells that they would normally have to break into. Whenever we do, sometimes we even just will hide food throughout exhibits for animals. So it's not even like there's not really like a specific toy or anything different, but the food is just hidden in different areas. And that encourages foraging behavior. Foraging is a big one that we always like to encourage with the animals because it's a huge part of their life when they live out in the ocean. They spend like enormous amounts of their life just looking for food, and they don't have to do that with us, which is like kind of cool, but it also means that they've got a lot of spare time. So we try to fill up that time with something similar. It's a very natural behavior for them to want to forage. So forage is a huge one that we're usually trying to mimic with any enrichment that we do.
Okay, this is a question that's totally unrelated, but because it's from one of our very famous wigglers, Sally, she asks, is Joey's belly jiggly?
Oh my gosh, Joey has the jiggliest belly. I actually have a video of, I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. Maybe I'll make it into a reel or something that you can look for soon. But I have a video of him sitting up and just his giant Buddha belly, just wrapping over his knees, and he is extra plump right now. That's a very important question, and I'm happy to report yes, he is very jiggly. He is in fact graduating into the Heckin' Chonk, King Chonk. Yeah.
So there we go. Oh, there's a new nickname, everyone. Let's hashtag it on every tweet. King Chonk.
King Chonk. Georgie said it over here in my chat. Georgie gets credit for King Chonk.
Yeah. So now we need to basically make that go viral, please. That Joey is King Chonk. It's not fur shaming. We are proud that he is healthy.
No, yeah,
and that he's big, and that
he's gonna grow. He's gonna grow into it. But it's that baby, that baby stage.
So the big body and small head.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be pretty surprising if Joey actually gets larger than Mac, because isn't Mac still
he is, but like I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. So Mac was neutered at like probably about the age that like Joey is right now. So that does affect size. So it's not impossible that Joey could get bigger than Mac. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. But it is also, you know, usually the further north you go, like the larger the animals are. So Mac comes from like Alaskan stock, and Joey's obviously Canadian. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And Joey already weighs like over 20 kilos.
Oh my God.
He's getting there.
The puppy we have here is a big Labrador is 25 kilograms. Now I'm just imagining Joey being that big at only 6 months old. Good goodness. That's a big otter.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, it'll all be good if Joey gets bigger, because then he really will be king.
Yeah. Then we can call him King Chunk.
Yes. Sure. Okay. Next question, Rieha.
Yep. Next question is, how do you road test an enrichment so to ensure the activity does not have a negative effect on the animal?
Yeah, so usually what we'll do if we've got a brand new enrichment, we don't just go, all right, let's go throw it into the pool and see what Katmai can do. We'll maybe take it with some of our other animals, like, oh, let's see what Mac can do. Because, you know, an animal that's not likely to destroy things, or at least not as much as Katmai. And we'll usually start it on that, like, supervised sort of category, like I was saying to you guys. That, like, you know, basically, okay, we're gonna give them this item in a supervised play session and see what they do with it. Okay, that went well. Okay, now they can have it for an hour this day, and then we'll take it out and see what happened. Nothing happened so far. Okay, well, maybe now they can have it all day. Okay, now maybe they can have it overnight. So there are like some steps that we can take towards that. And then there are some times where you get a toy and you're like, this is very similar to this toy. They have no problem with that, so I don't see any issue. So they can have that. And then sometimes there are things that we give them that become a problem that we never predicted, and then we have to figure out a way to deal with that too. So there are some steps, but usually it just involves like kind of like what you would do with your kids too, right? You wouldn't just like hand them a skateboard and be like, have the most fun, enjoy the asphalt. You'd be like, oh, okay, let's watch, you know, with this, let's supervise this. Let's maybe
see them, teach them how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think a good question actually to go back, and I think it's in relation, you mentioned that you go through some sort of qualification with enrichments. What are the steps that you, not so much in grand detail, but the steps you take to say this is otter friendly? What kind of tests actually go to that?
Yeah, so we pay a lot of attention to like their teeth. They have very strong jaws. These guys can crack into crab shells using just their teeth. So we, you know, even the strongest dog toys might not be enough for our sea otters. So we're really careful about that. We also want to make sure that if they do put their tooth on it somewhere, our toys have specific, if they have holes in them, there are specific regulations on the size of the holes. Like, you guys wouldn't believe the things, because we don't want them to crack a tooth in one of those holes or do anything like that. And that depends on the animal as to what size holes they can have in these balls. Like, this is literally the type of stuff that we think about. But yeah, so otter safe things tend to be like kelp. We know from experience that car wash material, that kelp, is something that not only do they enjoy, but they really can't destroy too readily. And then yeah, so biting is a big one. And then, is it bang proof?
So it won't smash.
Yeah, exactly. So, and sometimes the toys do get old, as you've seen. I think it was like Hardy and the Great Broken Boomer Ball debacle of 2021. But yeah, I mean, sometimes toys get old. We're always looking at them and trying to predict before an accident like that can happen. But but they are still otters. But yeah, so like, you know, the quality of the item, this is like a newer item. Okay, they're not going to be able to smash this. And then like if they're banging it on the glass, is it going to mess with the glass? So we look at stuff like that. Which is why ice treats are so great, because ice is a little bit more malleable and they can't break their teeth and they can't break their you know, the glass with it. So yeah, it's mostly that, like, can they break their habitat? Can they break their teeth? And that's kind of what we look at when we look at otter enrichment and improving those things.
Because you've seen them their way, they paw very fast and then they put their mouth on the bolts. It's like, I want to see if I can go through this. I mean, yeah, so that's handy information to know. Ray, got some more questions?
Yep. Continuing on, we have a question here. It says, how do you determine what is needed to support in terms of items for an animal enrichment event?
What do we... Sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. What do we need for support? You're trying to understand the question
I'm trying
too?
to understand that question also. I'm guessing it's like, what do you need to get an animal enrichment event going?
Oh, like when we do like big sessions, or like when we go up there?
Yeah,
Probably like the
is what
buckets
I'm
and that.
thinking.
Yeah, so honestly, like you guys might think that it's like super well planned out, but usually we're just like walking through our enrichment room going, this looks like fun, and grabbing that. And then, you know, usually when we go up with the otters, I mean, ice is a huge thing. They love ice. So giving them ice whenever possible. So we will almost always bring ice up with us. But a lot of times we're just looking through like, hey, have they ever had this? Cool, let's see what they do with this. Or, you know, I've got a big block of Jello here. Do you think Hardy might be interested? Like, we're just kind of going by the seat of our pants. Because, and I think that's part of why it's fun. It's fun for us, but it's also fun for the animals because they never know what to expect. Because honestly, we don't even know what to expect because we're just going with it. Because we always want things to be different. One thing we do always plan, or always try to remember to plan when we go up for an enrichment session, is having some way to get the animals back in the pool. So whether that's bringing up their food. So a lot of times we'll do an enrichment session just before a feed. So that way we've got their entire bucket of food as incentive to come back, get away from the enrichment, go back into your pool so the other otters can have their fun or do whatever. Or sometimes we just bring up a bunch of ice treats, which are one of the, you know, fan favorites of the otters, so that we can, you know, have some sort of, it's bribery essentially, so that we can bribe the animals to go back into their pool. Yeah.
Or you, if you've seen your latest video, you just dance.
Yeah, if you just dance in a really strange way, it confuses them right back into the water.
What's going on here? I don't know this animal. Let's run away. That's actually hilarious. I was gonna say, so basically, you almost researching otters is that way. Would that be fair to say that this is also like a form of research if you bring in something new? Or enrichments?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always learning about the animals. It's a really cool thing about spending time with them. We always try to spend as much time with them as possible, and it's one thing that's really cool about, like, you guys get to actually watch for long periods of time, and I'll sometimes turn on the feed too, just because it is very interesting to see what the animals are doing when we're not there, because it does make a difference. You know, when we're not there entertaining them, what are they doing to entertain themselves? But yeah, I mean, seeing what they're like with different types of enrichment is absolutely research, you know, whether or not it's being published in a journal or anything like that, or if it's very scientific. We're always learning, you know, and they're always learning too. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair to say that, you know, it's all research and learning about the animals, and it often brings up interesting questions like we're seeing here, and then we all get to learn more just by talking about it or looking things up and stuff like that.
Yes. Let me see some of the questions here. A lot of actually interesting questions just came through. Do you share your suggestions on enrichment that you have experienced with other trainers and other facilities?
Yeah, so there is a big network of trainers and facilities communicating. different things. We usually have yearly conferences for like many organizations. So you're talking like multiple times where people can get together, and enrichment is a big topic of those conferences, where we're sharing information and things that people have done, and stuff that's worked for them, and things like that. And then there's also just on different groups. Facebook, for instance, has a big. I belong to several zookeeper and marine mammal trainer groups on those forums, and we were always talking, oh, okay, we've got I've got an otter who unties knots, you guys got any suggestions for me? Kind of a thing, and that kind of stuff happens, and we often get a lot of really great ideas, or even just from like the idea of sinking kelp with ice. I mean, that came from watching a video at Oregon Zoo, and it's like, okay, awesome, I want to try that. I think we can have success with that. So yeah, it's definitely we always try to share information with other facilities, and everybody's growing and getting better at animal care together, which is really awesome.
I won't lie, I'm actually also very keen to see what they do with the anchored. I mean, we have an underwater cam we can take full advantage of.
Yeah, I know. I think we're close. So we just have to. We've got to get the big boss to approve that purchase. So, but
yes.
it's in the works. We're thinking about it.
Okay.
We'll be sure to give you guys a warning.
Oh yes. We need to prepare. We need to make sure the camera's on. We need to make sure it's a sunny day. And then I'm sure. So, by the way, this is no meaning. I'm just a moderator on the channel. There's no meaning saying it's going to happen. So let's not all jump onto MMRC like it's going to happen. She said it.
No.
It would be nice to see one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Ray, on your side.
Okay. Yeah. This question is: how often per week do animal enrichments occur? And do some animals need more or less to keep them mentally stimulated?
Yeah, I mean, some of that kind of depends on, like you said, like certain animals, animal types, those types of things. So typically, we try to do something every day for almost everybody. And then if we're like, okay, we spent a lot of time with the otters yesterday, let's spend a little bit more time with the fur seals today. We try to sort of mix it up, but in general, something interesting is happening. Something new and interesting should be happening just about every day for each of our groups of animals. That's what we strive for anyway. But it is also okay for there to be times when nothing is happening. And that sounds like a little bit silly, but if their lives were just constant enrichment, like from dawn until dusk, then that no longer becomes enrichment anymore, right? That's just kind of like
every day.
Meh.
Yeah.
So if there are down times, that's actually okay. That actually enhances the value of the enrichment when you do give it. And then there are some, like, sometimes something you might not even think of enrichment, like if we swap the animals. So we put Mac back in with all the boys, and then King Chunk gets all the ladies, and that's a different social structure. That's enrichment. If they haven't seen each other in a few days, you're changing up the social structure. Maybe you're even changing the exhibits for some of the animals. It is absolutely enrichment.
A form of enrichment, yes.
Yeah. Because again, it's just changing up the behavior of the animals, and you've done that by changing up the social structure. So even something as little as that, which you might be like, oh, the otters didn't get enrichment today, but they switched the animals around 6 or 7 times. Like they did. They got enrichment. Social structures are really interesting, and when you have animals like our sea otters that have there's so many animals, there's so many combinations. That does make it really easy for us to change that up and make that something interesting and dynamic. The same is true with our sea lions. Like right now, we have our sea lions that are actually, so our female sea lions are in with a male sea lion, Well, they are all very enriched by this experience.
Like, who
there's
this?
not, yeah. So there are some times where you're like, okay, well, we don't really need to bother them. They seem to be having a great time. We'll just go, and spend some time with some other animals. So you can definitely look at animals and go, okay, these guys are like have an incredibly dynamic social structure, an incredibly dynamic exhibit. They don't really need ice treats right now. Let's go give them to animals that need something a little bit more than them. So there's definitely that all ties into the decisions that we make for the animals. But in general, we try to do something for everybody as much as possible. Not just because it's important, because it is, but also because we love doing it. It's fun.
Yes. I actually think today was a perfect example, and we actually joked about it on chat when Taz got introduced back into Pacific Meat Bay, and how the otters lost their minds. Like, it's Taz. I think we were even saying
it's here.
Taznado. And we even said that she's a form of enrichment, except that she actually plays back. And it's there we go. We were joking people, and it's true.
No, she's a like each otter is a built-in like buddy who likes to play and interact back. It's the best form of toy, honestly.
Gosh.
So yeah, I mean that's always super fun, especially when we have animals that are behind the scenes like Taz and Joey were for a little while, and then they get to come back into the group, and everybody's like, oh my god. You're great.
I think they lost their minds as much as the chat did that they hadn't seen Taz for a while. Like, oh my god, it's Taz! And the otters just swamped her. She got a taste of her own medicine a little bit for that moment.
Yeah.
So we have a question here. Would the otters ever get like Sheldon or Claudia, that's the otter balls, filled with boomer balls like a kid's ball pool? Or like we saw at the ferrets just now?
Yeah. So sometimes we have done where we'll literally like we gate the animals out. This usually doesn't happen with the kiddie pools, but because our balls tend to be bigger, we don't have we don't have an enormous amount of those smaller balls. So, but we have done where we've like gated them out of the pool and put like literally every single ball we have into Russell pool or Finning pool, like just filled the entire surface of the water with the balls that they can have. Yeah, and it's a pain in the butt for us, so it doesn't happen very often because every toy that we put in there, we will have to get out of there. But it can be really fun. Like, so that's a form of enrichment too. Like, just here's everything you can have. Enjoy. Yeah. But it brings up an interesting point about, enrichment is so much rotating of items, because if we leave a toy in there for a week and a half, it's no longer enrichment. It doesn't count anymore. That's now just become a part of their exhibit, right? So that's why it's so important for the animals to know or to be able to bring toys back to us so that we can circulate them. And even with your animals at home, I find and I get trapped in this too. And actually it's on my like planner list of things to do is to pack up all of the all of my ferrets' toys, put them away and like start a circulation. So, because right now I've just given them, they have access to like anything that they would like to play with right now, which is just, now it's just become boring, right? But if I take things away and then give them to them at other times that at an interval, then it becomes very interesting for them. So that's something that I want to do, and that's something that we do very well at the aquarium. The animals don't always have access to every single toy, and that's why those toys are interesting. So
that's actually good advice. I need to start doing that with my bearded dragon, because she doesn't care about her toys anymore. She just
exactly, because they're just there. So
and I guess that's the same with humans, actually, in a way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's the same thing with your kids, right? Like if they always have access to everything, then they don't want any of those things. And so if you just kind of cycle through items, then everything has a higher value because of that.
Interesting. I think that's even with adults. If you get bored of, I notice I get bored of playing a musical instrument, I have to switch. Otherwise, Huh.
Mm.
Interesting, people. We're learning human things as well with enrichment
Yeah,
for
well,
animals.
all of the
Yeah.
same, psychology is not just for humans, those same principles apply for the animals.
Yes.
Like we're just animals with big brains, and but all of those instincts and all of those things like that all still
And
is there.
you've mentioned one of the qualifications to become an animal trainer, all that, is to actually study psychology.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very useful degree to get if you want to get into this field, because it's not what I got personally, but I wish that I had,
Yes.
because then I would have a little bit more of a background in that.
Oh
So
god, these walruses with the bubbles, they treat them like the
I
kids with bubbles.
know,
Like, this is so amazing. That's so
isn't it the
cute.
greatest?
Oh gosh. Okay, what about sand? Would that make a good enrichment for otters?
Sand.
Mm. I just
I'm
imagine it
thinking about
being
it.
messy. But
Yeah, so that would be my biggest problem with it. And unfortunately, because of the way our habitats are, we cannot have like a substrate on the bottom. So it like we have to drain the pools, and then that would just get in the
it's
pipes and it
stuck.
would clog the pipes. So the only way we'd be able to give it would be like in the trainer area in a controlled setting, and then I can just imagine it being everywhere. I'm not really sure too. A lot of times when we give things to the otters, we well, almost when we give things to any animal, but especially the otters, we consult with our vet staff. Like before, I had to get special permission to give the otters Jello. Firstly, I didn't think they were going to eat it, but Jello is completely safe for the animals
Yes.
to eat. It's literally just water in solid form. Like there's nothing
Yes.
in it essentially. But I had to get permission because it could potentially things that can get on their fur is something that we're always concerned about.
Yes.
Because their fur is so important. So I'd be obviously otters out in the ocean come into contact with sand, but I'd still be a little bit wary of our otters, like I don't know, rolling around in the sand. Maybe that would affect their fur. I don't know. I'm just trying to think in the mind of our vet staff and wondering what
Yes.
they would say. But mostly we would probably not do that simply because I do not have the time to spend 3 hours cleaning up
I can
a sand
imagine.
mess.
Yes. Especially when the sand gets wet as well. It makes it worse to clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is nice. This is a ferret
Sorry,
question.
I missed it. Thanks, Krista, for the prime sub.
Do ferrets have a downtime?
Downtime,
Yes.
like
Are they given any sort of downtime? Because they always seem so happy and curious. Are they ever like? I think you've actually mentioned it. Like, I don't know if this is what you meant, Carol, on the chat. Is possibly like that they don't get a form of enrichment to keep them entertained. I'm assuming because the question was simply, do your ferrets have a downtime?
a downtime. Yeah, well, ferrets do sleep like 18 to 20 hours a day.
Good gosh.
Yeah, I know. So that's why, when you see them going so hard, there's an antithesis to that as well. There's we go so hard we sleep. Sort of a thing. But there is like we do have a cage for them, so even though they're free roam for the vast majority of their day, they do have at nighttime they go in there. So that would be like probably their downtime. There are like a couple things to do in the cage, but for the most part they understand that if I go in the cage, it's time to sleep. And I'll get let out in a few hours when it's time to wake up. Except for Georgie's reminding me that one of my ferrets broke out and destroyed like all of my plants and everything. Last week or the week before. So or if you're asking like, is there like a timeout? Like sea otters, our ferrets definitely have a timeout. If they are being exceptionally jerk faces, then they go in the cage and they get like a 5 to 10 minute timeout where they need to just chill, cool it, and then we can let them back out to hopefully be a little less rambunctious.
Yeah, a little bit more behaved. Gosh.
Yeah.
Little ferrets in the snow was hilarious.
Ferrets in the snow is super fun. There definitely is like a downtime for ferrets, but it's not just like go like constantly for sure.
Okay. Hello, Harden. How many questions do you have left on your side?
We actually have a lot more still.
No, that's fine.
The next one that we have is, what is the craziest enrichment item that you've gotten approved?
When I got approved for the sea otters to have actual kelp, I thought that was pretty crazy, and it didn't go super well. I don't know if you guys had cameras at this point in time. Well, I know you had cameras, but I don't know if you had the cameras that would have shown you what happened. But I have videos of it. I'll have to share. So like I got it approved for us to give the otters actual kelp, but the reason that we don't give this to them like on exhibit is because they will shred it and then it'll go into the filters, and then the engineering staff will just murder us. So
yes.
So we had to give it in the trainer area. So we had like the big black tub, and we just filled it with water and with the bull kelp that we had. And the stipulation was like, they cannot bring it back into the pool. Well, the very first thing that one of them does before we even have a chance is just scoop up as much as they can and carry it back into the pool. I think it was Hardy, and I there's a video of me diving after him and trying to grab onto his hind flippers and hold him so that he doesn't go into the pool with the kelp. But of course, he made it in there. Luckily for us, he then I had food, because this is why you bring food. I had food, and I asked him to retrieve, and he retrieved me every single piece of kelp, and I was able to.
Oh my gosh!
But I was like panicking because I was like, oh my god! I spent all this time. I assured everybody it was gonna be fine. I was gonna be watching. It's gonna be totally fine. And then the first thing they do is just take it all back into the pool, and they are like just shredding it into tiny pieces. And so, yeah, it's something that was probably one. The boomer ball or the exercise ball that you might see our walruses playing with in the video that I'm running was an item that was like very tentatively approved, but like under like strict supervisory regulations. And we were watching them. That video is very short, and there aren't any other videos, because immediately following that, they started like grabbing these exercise balls and like squeezing them so tight, and I just knew they were gonna pop. They'd be like on the haul out, just smashing their faces into it, and I had to get it back almost immediately. After that video was done, they decided to destroy them, so we were able to get them back too. So happy endings for those stories, but those are all things that have given me like panic attacks while I've been like so excited to give them to the animals, and then I'm like, God, come on, you guys. Yeah,
you broke the rule. You had one rule.
Exactly.
But it almost feels like kind of exciting, like asking like, can we bring this into the pool? I promise it'll be safe. And immediately 10 seconds afterwards, oh my god, what have I done?
I know, totally. But that's where that, I think I've talked about it before, where like I feel like we as trainers are like just like totally like weirdly good in like weird situations like that. So there's always a solution. Come up with it really fast, fix the problem before it, escalates. So yeah, but those are probably the big ones that and then I think I've talked about this is before Hardy was around, back when I made a push to get Jello approved for the otters, because I really wanted Katmai to play with it, because I thought it was going to be so much fun. I thought she was going to love it. And I got it all approved. This is like a month-long process of me trying to get this stuff ready to go, and then go give it to her, and she's terrified. Won't even come into the trainer area because of the Jello monster. So that was a big letdown. It wasn't really like there was no danger or anything to the situation. It was just like, wow, okay,
like, this is not okay.
Great. Yeah, and there's nothing like, even though that's still totally changed her behavior, so it really still was enrichment. It's just like I always want them to have fun, and so when they absolutely hate it, I'm like, oh.
Of course, I can understand that. Do the otters ever get a timeout? I know we just spoke about the ferrets, but have you ever had to send them back?
Yep. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So usually things go when you're doing training. So there's not any punishment, but there is what's called an LRS that we give the animals, which is like least reinforcing scenario, essentially is what that means. So what'll happen is there's literally like a couple seconds, like it's literally like a 3 to 5 second pause where you just do absolutely nothing. So the animals have done something and your response is nothing. And that's not what they're looking for, right? Like if the animals are doing something, they're looking for a response. So when you give them no response, you've essentially told them that's not appropriate, or that's not what I was looking for. Try something else. And so then we can either, and this is, you know, when you're talking about like certain behaviors or whatever, but we can ask the behavior again. But essentially like ignoring the animal is the worst thing that ever happens to them, because it's not what they want. They want attention. They want something from whatever you're doing. So that's the worst that we ever do. And then there are times where you're like, okay, these animals are just like completely out of control. Let's put them back in the pool. Let's go do something else for 10, 15 minutes. And then come back and see if they're in a little bit of a better space to be working with. And so that would be the biggest timeout, is just like, okay, well, this is not, you know, there comes a time where it's like, this is not worth fighting over. So, you know, you guys go back in the pool, take a little breather, and we're going to be back in 10 minutes. And hopefully you guys be ready to participate when we come back. So, so there are such things as timeouts in the trainer world. It's part of that positive reinforcement. So, and operant conditioning essentially just means that they get rewarded for things they do correctly, and if there are things that they're doing that are incorrect, there's just no response.
Okay, so there's actually like, that is actually actually a very, sorry, I almost lost distraction because I saw a question here, but that's actually a nice way to, I've never actually thought of that way, to simply just like stop, or just stop doing something and then let the animal be like, okay, well, I'm not getting the reaction that I want.
Yeah, even when like, and this is maybe not necessarily true with sea otters, but like even with other animals like penguins or like my ferrets, for instance, if the ferrets bite me, I try not to react, is like, you know, the first thing. With the penguins as well, you try not to react, because if they're biting you, what they want you to do is be afraid, and to, you know, recoil away, and that's their goal. So if you do that, then they're going to bite more, because they've learned that. That's the response they're eliciting. Or the same thing, you know, with your kids too, when they're screaming, trying to get their way, and you go, okay, I don't want you to scream anymore. Here's a cookie. Well, what have they just learned? You know,
yes.
is that screaming is exactly the way to get what they want. So if you do not react, and that way, that, you know, because punishment is not really effective. It's so difficult to make punishment effective. It's just not a viable training technique. So this is just the positive reinforcement. So you get nothing for doing this bad behavior that I don't want to see. And then as soon as they do the behavior that you want, that's when you get the reward. So that's operant conditioning. It's a little bit off topic of our enrichment, but yes. Enrichment can be rewards too. So we do not, like, if we come up and the otters are, I don't know, like doing something really awful, I can't think of what it would be, but like we do not then give them treats, even if we had planned an enrichment session. We'll be like, okay, let's come back in 10 minutes when maybe they're doing something that we'd actually really like to see. Or even when we're doing introductions with like Joey and them, like, okay, the otters are calm and playing really nicely right now. Let's give them some ice treats. Or like, okay, this wrestling's getting a little bit rough. I don't want to reinforce this. We're not going to give ice treats right now. Let's wait till they calm down, kind of a thing. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. We're getting close to the end of this hour. I was actually going to ask, possibly we need to do a part 2 of enrichments, because we've actually had a lot of questions come through, and we still got a lot of questions on the list. That we need to do. So, guys, I am going to say this now. I've seen all your questions come through. What we're going to do is the questions that we haven't answered on YouTube, we're going to put it on the list for next week. So, gives you a reason to join us next week again for enrichment part 2, because some of your questions I really actually want to ask now. We have quite a few nice questions. And yes, I've just seen another question come through. So, I sing Joey Baby and Keisu, if I pronounce it right. I'm going to take all your questions, and then we're going to do a part 2 next week for enrichment. And I don't know, Ray. You will have that list available, I think, because I think maybe we can get some questions in on the AMA side of things as well. So on KP's channel, yeah, carry on.
No, just send me whatever questions you have.
Yes, so
and
we'll
we
send it,
can
but
plug it in.
as always on KP's channel and on my Discord channel, there is a section you can actually specifically go to ask questions for the AMA. It'll be a link, and you can ask questions in advance for next week's show. And we will obviously be covering Enrichment Part 2. We should do an echo there. Just a nice echo. And your questions that we haven't answered today, we will definitely be asking next week. Very quickly, KP, are you still going to be streaming when we are done on this side?
Yeah, I'll keep going for a little bit, and then especially if people have questions specifically or
Yes.
comments about the video that I've been playing too. I know I haven't been paying attention to stuff like that. So if they want to
Yes.
ask about what's going on in the video and stuff like that, we can talk about that. And then we're gonna play Jurassic World.
Oh,
Play some
yes.
dinos.
Yes,
Yeah.
my world has grown very fast. I'd love to see what your world looks like. I'm definitely going to be
mine's
following
probably
that.
not as pretty as yours.
No, you definitely got more skill on that side. I will leave with one last question because I have to ask because I have one. How many Gustavs do you have to replace a year? That's those little frog leg enrichment toys.
That's a good question. So, they haven't really been going through them. They haven't really been doing any damage to them, honestly. So they're holding up remarkably well. So they're great toys, but we have had to replace them one time because maybe it wasn't just the Gustavs, but it might have been those S toys.
Those Issos, yes.
They disappeared, and we have no idea where they went. So presumably an otter found a place to stuff them, whether that was down a drain or down a skimmer, and now they are trapped somewhere in the system. So we did have to get new ones of those, and it hasn't happened since. It's a little bit of a mystery.
Oh my god!
But yeah, we have replaced the S toys. One time, and it's not because they were destroyed. We actually have no idea what happened to them.
They're just
but
gone.
They are gone.
But
yeah,
I can assure you from my side as well, these Gustavs are very durable. I've did it just before the stream. I chewed on it. It's like
good.
There's no teeth.
Good.
It's soft but hard. Jeez, but I had to ask that question.
You gotta stop putting. What was it that you did that you ate?
Pineapple.
Like
I ate a pineapple.
Stop doing weird stuff, man. Yeah.
Hey, it gets the attention, and everyone else loves it. I need to put a
true.
poll. What do you want me to eat next? Not a cactus, okay? Let's not be silly. But
I am still up for you opening a coconut.
With your teeth?
damn, yeah. Oh.
He's gonna break his teeth.
No, not with his teeth, but
Yeah.
we watched a video
I can.
and
Yeah.
we're watching someone like peel a coconut husk with his teeth.
Yes, I need to do a review of that because that is a man's man. That dude was doing art on top of a
Man's
tree.
man.
He was painting things on top of a tree. So, I don't know, and he was having fun with it, but we'll do something. But oh my god, like, where did you get the silver one? No, this isn't silver, by the way. It's that color because of the green screen. This is a green Gustav. So, it's just because of the reflection of the camera because I have a green screen. So, it's not actually silver. I can spray paint it, but then I can't chew it. But it is a green one. But anyway, guys, we might not do it, but we might. We are thinking of doing a charity stream. So
Yeah.
you guys will be able to, whether we do it on Twitch or that, you'll be able to donate on Twitch. On my side, we will be using Super Chat, so you guys will actually be able to donate. And then obviously between myself and KP, we'll decide which is the best place for the support to go to. So it'll be
we're in the midst of talking about stuff
Yeah.
and getting things set up, but I think it's safe to say that it will happen.
Yes, it will happen.
We've got some planning that we're doing.
So if you've got some suggestions of what you want to see during that stream, if you want us to play games, if you want us to answer questions, if you want to do this for like an extended 3-hour show, please let us know in our Discords. Go to KP's Discord because you'll get the best response there. So KP's Discord, pop over to there and give us suggestions of what you would want to see in the donation stream. to future happen.
Suggestion's gonna be terrified for the entirety of
Yeah, it's just
stream.
JJ, Rieha, and I playing Phasmophobia.
Oh
Just
yes. Maybe we need. I still say maybe we need to download something like Uno, just so that we give something to not be scared in between, or put up otter photos, because that game is scary. I know we might scare some.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. Please go. I'm going to post a link now. Sorry, let me post it now. Please pop on over to KP's Twitch and go carry on watching on that side if you want. Or carry on going watching the Otters. Don't forget the Otters still need your love. So jump on to carry on watching the Otters or jump over to Twitch stream. But as always...
I opened up the form for questions to be submitted since we're going to continue on next week.
And is that on KP's channel?
Enrichment.
Do we have a link?
It's on both, actually.
I think it's on both, yeah.
The link still works, so I just reopened it for everyone.
So it's going to be on my
questions.
AMA channel. Look for the thing. It's pinned. And also go look at KP's channel if you're on that channel to look for the pinned questions and submit them. So thank you very much for joining us again, KP. And thank you, Rhea, for joining us. Last week was very different.
We were so stressed out.
It's like, where's the questions? Where's the questions? And thank you all for joining us on this side, on the YouTube side, and on the Twitch side as well, for watching the show. And we will